Good morning, everyone. So, I don't know if you guys can hear me well. I'm gonna have to check the audio on this after I'm done recording. But I wanted to talk about something really important. Once you're becoming an architect in your life, or when you're awakening to the fact that you are an architect in your life instead of a laborer. And when I say laborer, I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I don't mean to put down anyone's way of making money, their job, or anything like that. That's not my intention. My intention is to reach those who want to, open up their own business, that they realize that they cannot be governed by anyone or anything. You're a sovereign being. And I want to talk about my experience and how it ultimately led me to realize that I'm an architect of my own life, and that I'm a sovereign being, and that I cannot be under someone else's rule. I don't adhere to, I'm not saying I don't adhere to the social hierarchy, but there are signs. So if you're someone that's awakening to this fact, here's something that I have experienced a lot in my life in many different settings. It could be groups of friends, it can be jobs or anything, but more so with jobs. So for example, in a corporate setting, you find that there are people, everyone there is kind of working together. Everyone is a laborer there, no matter what your position is. You're a laborer, and you guys are all under the same system. And so what happens is that when you're someone who is sovereign and you put yourself into these situations with these people, there's just naturally going to be envy and dislike. People are going to dislike you, people are going to envy you, people are going to think there's something wrong with you because you are not following the social hierarchy. Their sense of competence is threatened by your existence and by your energy alone. So you always experience, for example, why do I always have bad experiences at my job? Why am I always clashing with people? I haven't done anything to them on a personal level or anything. Or why are they all of a sudden antagonizing me? Or why is everyone on my case for this, that, and the third? If you notice those things, that is one sign that you are meant to be the architect of your own reality, of your own world. And that's, right now we're talking about signs, but ultimately that leads you to figuring out what is your true passion. Since you were a little kid, we would have to look into what you really liked in order to construct your reality, to start a business, to do whatever it is that you can do, whatever skills you do have. What can you do yourself? So for example, one time I was attending a business meeting, and already I had some managerial issues because I do talk a lot about astrology as well. If you are a personal client, we would go very deep into your chart to look and see what placements you have that just make your energy inevitable to the people around you. So, for example, if you have a very strong IC placement or a midheaven in a public setting, you're always going to be seen as someone with a strong reputation that cannot be destroyed by anyone or anything. So let's say you walk into a business meeting, and your manager or your boss or supervisor, anyone, is trying to antagonize you, is trying to place a projection about you, and is trying to get other people on board with it. You can feel that immediately. That energy is felt. You are not crazy. I'm here to tell you that you are not crazy. Everything that you're feeling, that is 100% true. And a lot of high profile vice presidents, CEOs feel this. There's always going to be someone that is trying to bring you down because they feel incompetent next to you. You challenge them. You challenge everything that they are for, everything that they have built in their life. you are a threat to their very existence and what they've built, the empire that they've built for themselves. Because when you are not complying to their rule, or you have a very strong reputation, or you have a very strong sense of self that you will not allow yourself to be governed by someone, they can feel that. They know that immediately, and if they don't know it from the get-go, because you can fake it, you can try to pretend that you are a good worker and you're following the rules, and you can be nice, and you can step out of line sometimes to show that you have a backbone, but ultimately they know and they can feel that you are not going to be following their rule for very long. And if you do, that's just a detriment to yourself. I see a lot of people, and a lot of women and men, but mostly women, that when they're in these positions where they're like, oh God, like it's getting harder and harder by the day, I just don't know how I'm going to keep doing this, but I'm putting on a strong face, and I'm going to keep going, because in the face of adversity, like I overcome. Like I am going to stay at this shitty ass job because I'm going to prove to everyone that I can be there. Are they paying your bills? Are they checking in on you every day and asking you if you're okay? Have they ever given you a compliment? Have they ever told you, wow, you're so amazing, like, wow, you are so strong, like, for like sitting there all day, or for doing this job all day? No, they actually don't care about you. Like, they don't care about your well-being. If you were to die, let's be honest, if you were to die today, they will not give a fuck. They will not give a fuck. If anything, they would be like, I'm so glad she died. She did not lick my ass, or she did not give me the praise that I wanted, or she thought she was so full of herself, or he thought he was so full of himself. He thinks he's everything. You know what I mean? You don't owe these people anything. But you know what you do owe yourself is to notice why these flying monkeys. Now, if you know anything about psychology, and I don't want to get into like narcissists and stuff like that, because the ego is something that we do need. You do need to stroke your ego. You do need to touch on the spiritual side of yourself. You need both of these things to survive this reality. You just can't do one without the other. And you have to be able to protect yourself. But once you realize all of these things are happening to me within friends, friend groups, parties, at jobs. I'm not saying because you're like the best thing on earth. Of course, you do want to think about that about yourself. You are the creator of your reality, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you do want to notice, what is this environment? What are these group of people trying to teach me? What are they showing me about myself? I need to be the architect of my own life. I need to get the fuck on, and I need to figure out who I am. I need to stop people pleasing, and I need to stop like wanting to be liked by everyone and pretending that I'm strong for everyone. You have to make sure that you are, going to lead yourself into the next step of discovering who you are. You're gonna have to take some time to figure out who you are, what you're doing on this earth, what the hell you want. When you don't even know what you want, that's how you know it's bad. It's bad. If you don't even know what you want, that is really, really bad, and you need to get it together. So I have developed a program that I find can be very, very helpful for men and women. I'm able to spot a woman in a restaurant that looks tired, that looks overworked, that, she asks for something like, I want a booth instead of a table. And that request is not even granted to her. You know what I mean? And it's because there is something fundamental to her energy that she has not looked at. So, for example, aesthetic is important. How you look is important. How you feel is important. Your mindset, you have to shift all of that. And when you shift so many things in your life, and you notice things about yourself, and you work on yourself, there's people from your life that is going to leave. They're going to drop dead like flies. You are going to be alone. I have been alone for so many years. I've been alone for so many years, and it's not a bad thing. It just means that you're a sovereign being, and you don't need other people to, you don't need other people to operate. You don't need them. You are here to build your own reality. You can sustain yourself, and the right people will come to you at the end of the day. And then that's very true. You do meet aligned souls that are able to bring a lot of value into your life, and that share a lot of the experiences that you've had. And if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to find those people, you know? One thing about myself is that I hid myself for so long out of fear of just being seen. I just did not want to be seen. I did not want to share my life. If I ever went out somewhere, I would only post like one photo, and maybe I was even thinking about like deleting everything and going ghost on everything and everyone and not keeping in touch and just living my life in a shell. You know, I was living like this beautiful experience of life every single day, but I just wasn't sharing it with the world, and I'm not, you know, I didn't give myself the chance to connect with people that are the same way as me. Anyway, all to say that watch out for experiences where you're constantly being antagonized, or where you're being painted to be the villain, where you are, people are always on your case, you know, micromanaging you, where people are trying to get other people on board to dislike you or to have a certain idea of you. You are not meant to be there. You are not in alignment. That's such a bad state. You're not aligned at all. And it's hard to realize this because, you know what, if you don't want to come out of a place of unalignment, then that's your problem. You know what I mean? That's your problem, and that's fine. If you're comfortable there, stay comfortable. But if you want to grow, if you want to get better, if you want to live a beautiful life full of everything that you love and feeling aligned, of course, it's not going to be easy every single day. You know, you have to work for what you want, but you have to face those shadows. You know, that's all kind of like shadow work. I don't like that word. I don't even do that. But yeah, subconsciously, that's what it is. It's shadow work. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here to blabber about energy dynamics and being unaligned. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helped. And reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I would be super happy to answer any questions. But I hope that you guys have a lovely day. Please like, please subscribe, and please follow me on my Instagram. I love you guys very much, and I hope that you guys are working towards every single dream that you have in this life, and that you are aligned.